Tell us where you are, Krista.
So I am in Dublin, or more specifically, I'm in Clondalkin in Dublin.
I have been there, and that's an amazing city. Oh my gosh, the history, just it's a great place. Have you been there long? Have you always lived in Dublin or near it?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So I found you on Instagram a year ago or so, and you wrote this wonderful piece for Less Than Two Breasts.
Yeah, that was like a year ago. I'm literally only had my mastectomy. Next Thursday it will be a year to the day. So I was just brand new to it, like just totally.
I love how many young women are just like, I mean, there's somebody doing the walk, doing a stand tall walk who is 4 months flat. And I'm not kidding you, Emma, I think Emma's on Instagram. Emma had her mastectomy this week, and
Wow.
she's going to be leading. She's one of the co-ambassadors for the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania walk. So people, I think they're finding so much community before they have their surgery now that they feel really empowered. Is that kind of, can you tell me, is that a little like how that journey happened for you?
Yeah, that really is. I come from like I've the BRCA gene mutation. So, my mom had it and then I was waiting to kind of get my test. And while I was waiting for it, I was just researching and kind of joined a few Facebook groups and stuff like that. And so as soon as I got my positive diagnosis, I was like armed with all of my information. I actually think I went into the hospital, into the surgeon, with a printout from not putting on a shirt. So, I had all of them resources to hand, and I'm delighted that all of you guys have paved the way for me to be able to make that decision and to have like proper informed kind of choices about it. Like,
It's really thrilling to see this movement because I was diagnosed in 2016, and it was just before that New York Times article came out called Going Flat. And I think that really gave some national attention to this movement. And then subsequently, there have been so many groups, people like not putting on a shirt, reaching out to medical providers and changing the way they interact with patients and the definition of aesthetic flat closure. And then these in-person meetups that Flat Retreat Community is doing, that Flat Out Love is doing, and then all the Facebook groups like Flatties Unite, Fierce Flat Forward. There's so many of them out there just doing amazing work. So I'm just, and to see its effects that, it's empowered people before they get to the place where they're having surgery so they can feel really, I mean, because I was on the floor for 2 years after my surgery. I had implants and I had lots of complications, but so you're here. Why do you tell me about your road to advocacy? Like, how did this, because you're the BRCA Flatty on Instagram, right?
yeah, do you know what? Actually, I was kind of getting a bit of therapy done because with all the stuff I was doing, because I had faced like two surgeries. I'd had a hysterectomy kind of a couple of months before my double mastectomy, and I had lost my mum a couple of months before I had even kind of gotten my diagnosis. So I kind of was on it like a journey. So my therapist actually suggested I document it and share my journey with kind of everybody else. And only for her, like I probably wouldn't have done it. I'm kind of generally a little bit private before I would have had a Facebook page. I don't really post much on. So it was a big leap for me to kind of do that. And I'm delighted I did. And I like since putting up the Instagram page, which I was totally new to. So I'm still like finding my way around Instagram. I'm terrible at all this tech stuff. But yeah, I've had so many people contact me and just so much positivity, and it's just been great to kind of connect with everybody. Like it's been absolutely amazing. And so without it I wouldn't find you guys like.
Yeah, the first time I got on Instagram was to build the less than two breast platform. And what I wanted was that kind of, not the journey about the diagnosis or the treatment. What I wanted was how has flat affected you now, now that you're flat, your intimacy, your job, your sense of self-esteem, clothing, all that kind of stuff. And so like you, I just kind of jumped in not knowing what I was doing. And it's just a great platform. There's so much, social media coming at us and trying to, sell us everything. But to be able to have community there is extraordinary. And I think it's one of the true, wonderful things that technology has given us, is to be able to connect that way to others who are healing.
Yeah, definitely. And it's brilliant that like we can connect. We're so far away, and yet here we are having a chat. So that's really
I
nice. Like
know. I know
do this.
Elizabeth, who's watching today, was thinking like she has to go to Ireland for something. She's thinking, oh, if I could just be there for Krista's walk. Like it feels very like it's a real connection. And I have now met several people, it's not several, like dozens and dozens of women that I knew from online and then met them at flat retreats. And they're my friends. And now I drove up to Santa Cruz to see Christy Avila recently, and flying all over the country in October to do the walks here in the US. So I hope that do you know who's gonna be on your team? Are you connecting with, it's probably hard to connect with flatties in Dublin. I don't know.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be like a massive amount of us. I know one that I've met in person. Unfortunately she can't make it to the walk. But there is another lady who I connected with via Instagram. So hopefully I'll be meeting her for the first time. Other than that, they're mainly kind of friends and family and stuff. So if anybody wants to join and they can make it, please hit me up on my Instagram page. That would be amazing. We'd love to
Yeah,
have
can
you.
you tell us the date of your walk, and then where your Instagram page is and how they can join your team?
Yeah. So my walk is on the 2nd of October and it's in Dublin. I think it's in Raheny, but like Dublin is not that massive anyway, like you'll find it. And you can get me on Instagram. I'm the Braca Flatty, or under Krista Costello on Facebook, and just message me and let me know and I'll give you all the details. I'll send you the link for joining the walk and organize everything.
Great. One of the things, and this might be, I heard the Oregon women talking about this recently, is that they started a private Facebook group called, I think it's called Oregon Flatties. I have one in LA. It's Flat Friends LA. People are doing it all over. And that's a way, I started with just a couple people. They started a couple. I think they have 75 people now. I think I have about 50. And it's just a great way of, keeping space for those people to come to. So, and I'll be on the lookout for anybody in Ireland that might want to connect with you. It's a
Oh,
big.
that would be brilliant. I'd like to say we'd all take off our tops and everything, but it's getting cold now. Like it's pretty cold in Ireland in October, and it'll be raining. Like it's always
Yeah.
raining. Well,
Yeah.
today, but it will be raining.
That comes up a lot. Like there's people who want to take their tops off. There's people who don't want to take their tops off. I was freezing in Santa Monica, California in October because it's right on the ocean, so it's really cold. And so I was like bundled up, scarves and everything, and I didn't take my top off. But there are plenty of ladies who were like, they're, impervious to the cold, and they were just topless and going for it. And then in Central Park, people were cold. And for whatever that reason, I was like, no, my top's coming off. And I walked 3 hours in Central Park in October, and I never got cold. I don't know.
It's crazy.
So it
Well,
depends, but
yeah, hopefully with the adrenaline and the buzz and kind of meeting everybody, that'll be, enough to keep
yeah.
me warm.
Yeah, but it's really powerful, and I think that it draws attention. There usually are media at these events, and they're looking for interesting stories, and we're part of positivity. We have nothing to be ashamed of, and we have nothing. We have no breasts, so we can be topless, and our scars are beautiful and part of our journey. So
No,
I'm
they
so
definitely.
glad I got to talk to you today.
Oh, I'm delighted too.
Yes.
And like, I can't believe that like I'm getting the opportunity to do this. I think one of the reasons as well why I wanted to do it, really early on into my journey, I think I was going for like, like my like 10-week checkup just to see how everything was healing. I was sitting in the doctor's the waiting room, and there was a lady in, I think she would have been about probably like 86, like she was late 80s. We were chatting, and I'm visibly flat. I don't wear my prosthesis. I was given them, but they're just really uncomfortable. So I just remain flat. Like so, we were kind of like having a bit of a conversation about that. And she kind of she's looked inquisitive, and she kind of was nearly getting upset. And I was like, I don't know what I'm, God, maybe I should stop talking to her. And then she shared her story, and she said like she had been, I think a couple of months beforehand, diagnosed with breast cancer, and her surgeon was like, right, we're going to take it in, we're going to, get everything sorted, and we're giving you an implant. And, she's of that generation where she did not think to ask, and she would like, the doctor's going to give me all the options. And so she went off, got her implant, and I think she ended up in like the ICU, and she ended up in hospital for a couple of months afterwards. She had an infection, she had like a couple of things going on, and she was kind of like upset because nobody gave her the choice, because she was like, I don't want this. Like, I'm 86, what do I need the boobs for? She was like, I didn't know I didn't have to have an implant. And I think that really, that resonated with me. That was like, oh my God, like, wow. Like, I mean, I know I wasn't offered it. I went off and, did my own research and kind of came in armed with everything. And, you know, there was no real kickback from it. They were grand with that, but they never offered it to me. And at every appointment I go to, I still have people saying to me, "Do you want a reconstruction?" I'm like, "No, I've been clear from the beginning. That's not
Yeah.
what I want." So, it's just, I don't know, it's a really strange kind of a thing, like that. It's brilliant that women have the choice to have a reconstruction, but I feel like it's almost gone too far to like now the only option is a reconstruction. And yeah, it's kind of like it's a weird situation. It's like, how did we get here? Like, how did this be taken away as a choice and not presented equally with all of the,
Yeah.
the other options? Like,
Yeah.
so
Women often say it's like being put on a conveyor belt, and boom, 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 and here's where your, radiation, and here's your chemotherapy, and here's your mastectomy, and here's your implants. And I don't know any cancer patient that wants to be on a conveyor belt. That doesn't feel good, to be a product that's just, we're putting the pieces together. To share with you this story, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer 2 years after me. Her mother had breast cancer as well. My mother is in her late 70s and never got mammograms. That's just kind of the lady she is. And she found a small lump, and she went in, and it was, I think it was definitely under a centimeter. It was maybe around 5 millimeter tumor. Checked her lymph nodes, didn't look like any involvement, like very early stage, hormone positive. So her breast surgeon, not a plastic surgeon, her breast surgeon's like, well, I can take this out with a lumpectomy, or you can have a bilateral mastectomy. And my mom has very large breasts that are very pendulous in her 70s. Or you can have a bilateral mastectomy with implants. My mother has COPD. She has sleep apnea. This was now her third cancer. And to recommend to even say to her that she was a candidate for a bilateral mastectomy with implants was, I went and talked to my internist about it, and they said, your mom could die on that operating table, COPD, sleep apnea. And so I said to her, you leave him now and you go find another surgeon. She's like, well, he's really nice. I'm like, no, he gave you unethical information. That's not safe for you. And she went and found a woman who did the surgery, by the way, under a local anesthesia. She decided not to have a lymph node removed because it didn't look like it was involved, and she was not going to have chemo anyway. So why donate a lymph node to science? The surgeon agreed with her. And last year at the ASBRS, the breast surgeons conference, they actually did a case study on when women are older like that. You can, if they choose to leave the lymph node alone, it's perfectly fine. Let them choose to do that. She was home, went in for surgery, was home 3 hours later hanging shelves with her handyman.
wow.
And
Oh
it's
my
a
God.
beautiful story that
It is.
that was her recovery. She had a Band-Aid on her lumpectomy scar. And instead of bilateral reconstruction with implants, which could have wound her up in the ICU or worse. So
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely could. Like, I have, one of my main reasons as well for not doing it, apart from I didn't really fancy having, implants. I have a couple of overlapping autoimmune diseases. So, I was going in already going, right, my body is actively attacking itself. Like, what's it going to do with a foreign body? Now,
right.
my rheumatologist was like, yeah, no, I don't think you should get implants. But yeah, like the breast surgeons and stuff were like, no, we can totally give you them. And my breasts were extremely large. There was, they were like, you're gonna have to have maybe 2 or 3 surgeries, either a reduction forced or, go flat and get expanders and all of this. And I was just like, no, like I'm doing this to, after seeing kind of the battle my mom had, I was like, I do not want to get cancer at all. Like, I just don't want to. And, even my first kind of like my mammogram, I had very dense breast tissue as well. So,
Sorry.
surveillance route wasn't, optimal for me. Like, so I was just like, afterwards I was like, well, how will you be able to, you know, do the surveillance if I have a breast implant? And they were like, oh, kind of give you a mammogram and all this. And I was like, well, what's my options then if I go flat? And they're like, well, actually, but if you're flat, you can just feel it. And I can. So I'm like, well, that sounds like the right course for me. Like, I don't want to have to be having all of this big rigmarole to figure out whether if I do eventually develop cancer, I want something that's easy. It's the safest option. But it wasn't presented to me. I was like, well, why wasn't this presented to me if this is, the easiest, the safest, the quickest option? Why
Right.
was it, why was all the big, you can have multiple surgeries that you probably can't really get surveillance with afterwards? Why was that given to me, like, by medical professionals? Like, so it's baffling why they do that.
Yeah.
Like,
No, it can be really frustrating and for some people infuriating when their wishes are denied. But I do think that um, us being flat women being so vocal, being so visible, is changing the culture, even within the medical community. You see more and more doctors presenting flat closure, talking about it, being presented at the premier society for breast surgeons. It's really important. I think that you talk to the Bra Day event people. That's the breast reconstruction awareness, and they are offering you some patient engagement there. Maybe is that right?
yeah, and there's I think there's a surgeon going to add in aesthetic flat closure as well. So that's extremely positive.
Yeah, it is. It really is. I mean, look, I love all options are there for people. I have walked many people as an advocate through their journey getting implants or getting deep flap, and that's for them. But they all knew up front the risk, and they chose to assume those risks. And now, if anything does go wrong, they'll have the information, and they won't be kind of like, "What's happening to me? What's happening?" They'll go, "Oh, this is one of the complications that could happen, and now I have to deal with it or remove my implant." So it's anyway, it's great to hear the stories from all over, and they're so different, and yet we all come to the same place of wanting to advocate that aesthetic flat closure is presented to everybody as equally as an equal option. So
Yeah, that's what it is. It's not like them and us. It's together. It's inclusivity. It's about, you know, giving as many options because everybody is individual and we should be getting all of the options, not just like one of the options.
right, no gatekeepers here. Open the gates and let the women decide.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we're smart enough to choose for ourselves, but don't take that choice away from us, like.
right, right. Well, so lovely to be here with you. And I'm excited to have a Stand Tall, that there's going to be a Stand Tall walk in Ireland. So please take us with you there, take lots of photos. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
we'll see Sage on you or somebody else. There's going to be buttons. Got some cool little buttons, people.
And that's,
And I'll be shipping to you soon. The
I
what?
had no idea your involvement with Dr. Wendy Sage. I just thought you were just using her because she was, on The Simpsons. And I mean, like, The Simpsons are iconic. So I thought once that they used, like a mastectomy
Oh,
character,
oh
but I
no.
had no idea your involvement with it, like at all.
They were not thinking of this character at all. I was thinking of this character, and I was telling my husband, who's been on the show for a long time and a showrunner, that you need a breast cancer survivor on there who's flat or one breasted. And then we realized she couldn't be completely flat because it wouldn't read. She would just like look like a cartoon character that was really small breasted. So we're like, we're giving her one big boob and one flat side, and there she is. And then she has a port scar. And so I no, it was I'm so happy. I always say advocacy starts local, and The Simpsons is my local. My husband's worked there forever. I've written an episode. I've done several voices. So I'm so happy that I could bring it to such an iconic show and that they agreed to it. So
And it's
yeah.
brilliant and it's everywhere. And like I grew up on The Simpsons. I think I was about like 9, and one of the first like proper tapes that I bought was like Do the Bartman, which is really not cool. Like we grew up with it, like it's everywhere, like it's worldwide. So I mean, if you're going to like make an impact, that's an impact that travels everywhere. Like,
Yeah. No,
so
it's a beautiful.
fun.
It's been so a lot of cancer patients are. Someone DM'd my husband the day after the episode aired, and she said, I'm tweeting you, if that's the right verb. I'm messaging you from my hospital room. I just had a mastectomy and I'm watching The Simpsons and I'm crying because I'm seeing myself on television. I'm seeing myself represented. And when he told me that, he was just in tears. It was like, so he doesn't get those kind of emails. Those are really profound. So
That's amazing.
yeah. Hmm. All right. Well, I'm so glad to talk to you, and I'm going to talk to Penny, who's the New York ambassador, next today, and we'll get this up for posterity for everybody to watch it on Instagram and Facebook later on this weekend. So
Brilliant. Thank you so much. It was great to see you. And hopefully one day I'll eventually get over to one of the retreats. But probably be a long time away. But it's the goal.
we would love to see you. One of the
Thank you.
goals. All right. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.